I'm Steve Reeder from Monrovia High School and the Monrovia Alumni Association, and today we're interviewing Vietnam veteran Randy Marsh for the Library of Congress Veteran Interviews. It is January 24th, 2020, and this interview is being done at Monrovia High School. Okay, so Randy, where were you born?
Yeah, I was born to Hardin County, Kentucky. It's real close to Elizabethtown. So I think you probably see on my military records it will say Elizabethtown.
Okay.
Yes.
Who were your parents?
Yeah, my dad was Russell D. Marsh, and my mom was Dorothy Ellen Marsh.
And what were their occupations?
My dad was basically for 30 years was a union representative and president of the local. He worked at Chrysler and a chief steward and negotiator on contracts. Spent a lot of time in Detroit when I was growing up. So. He really liked working with the union.
What about your mother?
Yeah, my mother mainly worked in factories. She worked at food specialties where they made all kinds of condiments and stuff. Then she spent most of her time at RCA making records. And then I used to have all the records. And then went into stereo 8-track, producing 8-track.
So you're originally born in Kentucky. How long have you lived in Indiana?
Since I was between 5 and 6 years old. Yeah.
Siblings. What are their names?
Yeah. Deceased is my sister Carol Jean Marsh, and my brother's still alive. Is Charles Bradley Marsh.
Were either of them in the military?
No, they wasn't. My brother wanted to go, but his feet was flat.
Okay.
You know, it's just odd. I have great instincts. He didn't.
What were your parents and your siblings' reaction to you joining the military?
You know, they believed in it. I mean, they didn't want to see me leave, but they knew I had to go, and I had an obligation to do and fight for my country, and so they backed me. Yes.
Where did you attend primary and secondary schools?
Yeah, I mainly right out of high school. I went to Howard W. Sam's Technical Institute. I think I went in August, right after I graduated.
And where'd you graduate from?
Yeah, Monrovia High School.
Okay,
yes.
And before Monrovia, where'd you go?
Yeah, middle school and most of high school. A lot of high school I was at Martinsville,
okay.
Indiana. Yes.
Now, did you get drafted in the military or did you enlist?
I did get drafted. You know, as I was going to school, I was a 4S, and as soon as that ran out, I was out of school, I got drafted. Yeah.
Explain what 4S means.
4S means you're going into further education.
Okay.
Yeah. And 2S would mean if you was 18 in high school, you would be in a 2S. Yeah.
Okay. So explain the schooling you had after high school before the military.
Yeah, I basically, Howard W. Sam's Technical Institute was mainly electronics, computers. I know Purdue accepted our grades then, as long as we could pass the test and get our single E. Eventually I wanted to go to Purdue for the double E, and you know, which didn't quite make it. Yeah, Purdue. Yeah.
Where did you do your basic training at?
Yeah, I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. You know.
And what was that like, going to basic training?
Well, you know, I always said, people have asked me in the past, I said, the 3 days in the reception center was probably the worst days of my life. You know, it took a lot of adjustment. It was tough, very tough.
Now, where was your reception? Was that at Fort Campbell as well, the reception center?
No, the reception, actually, I had to bus out of Indianapolis.
Okay.
We was up there, I'd done the physical there, and went from there. Something I might point out, I was supposed to win almost 4 months earlier. And it was like October, then I got inducted in February, I believe the 12th. But between times, it spaced out so long, I didn't know if they was going to ever call me on. In the meantime, I got married. That changed everything, you know, how I, you know, about what life was going to deal me down the road, you know.
So you were older than most of the other recruits?
Yes, I was already 21 and when I got drafted.
And married? And
married, yes.
So you were kind of a unique draftee in basic training? I
was. So many of my comrades, or the guys I was in basic with, was just 18 or 19.
How many weeks was basic training for you?
Yeah, it was 8 weeks, but that 8 weeks seemed like 8 months, you know. And
so what was, like, give me some examples of basic training. Like, what was it like?
Oh, basic training. Well, they're going to try to beat you in shape, physically, mentally, and you better be up for it, you know. And I was in pretty good shape, but it was way more than I ever expected. And what the military does, they got to break you down, then build you back up, be able to take orders. You know, we had a conflict going on, had a war going, and you're going to be responsible to take orders, and might depend on saving your life or somebody else's life, or cause a mission to be messed up, you know. So you need to learn, you know. And there was all kinds of tests and agility stuff you had to do, and they're going to get you ready for the military life. Yeah.
What was the typical day like in basic? What time did you get up and things like that?
Oh yeah, you're going to probably be in formation by 6 o'clock in the morning, and I can't remind you, we was on the 3rd floor in the barracks. If you didn't fall out quick enough, we spent time falling out with the foot lockers on the shoulder. And you done spend a week getting that in place, everything rolled, everything put in there. So there you go, you're back at it again, you know. And something else, polishing those boots, I'll just throw that in there, because one pair of boots you had a white dot on them, the next pair of boots didn't have any dots. And you line up in formation, and who's ever in charge of what NCO or whatever, he walks down each line, every one of them better be black, or every one of them better have white dots, or you're in a bad situation.
What do you think was the best part of basic training?
You know, at the end of it, and realize coming out with the knowledge that you obtain in basic. You know, I mean, you learn the weapons, you learn combat, you learn how to take care of yourself. You know, it just goes on, and probably some things you never thought on the outside as a civilian, but in basic, everything means something. And you'll be sharp, you'll come to attention, and you'll know and understand the commands that you're being dealt with, and being able to respect the people above you. The ranks was important, and you better acknowledge that. You know? I remember one time, you know, I made general's orderly, and only one person out of the company made that. So it kind of tells you how hard I was trying. I wanted to succeed, but what that meant to me was a 3-day pass. I was the only one in that company that got a 3-day pass. So I probably wasn't too popular. Got me off KP. I didn't have to do that crawling under firecraft again and watching the bullets overhead. But I had to do it all originally, you know. So a big plus, and yeah, I was upset.
Okay, explain what did you have to do to get that distinction?
Well, it just meant that I was performing. I was doing a good job. I was meeting all the requirements, you know. So, you know, they watch all of that, and you're going to get rated.
And yet you were the only one in your in the company?
Yeah.
So
now,
that's,
there's other companies there, but
right.
I think it was Company D. But and what I couldn't get, I'm used to all that hollering, the screaming, the foot up your butt, and everything else. Go talk to the general. It's Michael Pollock, Brigadier General Michael Pollock. He was sat down. It was just like you and I had in the conversation. It was so different, and it only took me 3 days to get my boots to pass inspection. I had inspection about everybody in that company before I got to the general, you know, so I was standing tall, you know.
Now explain, some of the people may not know what's KP.
Oh yeah, that's kitchen duty. So you're washing dishes, then you're peeling potatoes. I hope they've done away with that. And getting the meals ready, then cleaning everything up. And I remember the next day after that, I could grab the skin, and I just like taking the glove off each hand where the skin is separate. My hand has been in water for so long. Then, you know, your mess sergeant would come in. If he found one spot on something, he'd throw it all on the floor or something. Hey, you're going to wash it all again. So you're going to get it right the first time. You know.
So how often did your company do KP?
Oh, somebody was on duty from the company every night.
Okay.
It was just for our company. Yeah.
Okay. So how many times did you do KP before the orderly?
Yeah, there was a couple times there before I got to general's orderly. But after that, I since I'd done that, there was an exception. I didn't have to do it.
Now, was KP all day or part of the day when you did it? How was that done?
Yeah, it was mainly, a lot of it would have been all day.
Okay.
A lot of it would have been. Yeah.
So what time did you get to the mess hall to start?
Yeah, oh, you're gonna start the mess at like 3 in the morning. And you've probably been out on night patrol or something the night before, but that don't matter. Yeah, you're gonna do it, you know?
And so is it all day?
All day, yeah.
Now, you mentioned crawling under fire.
Mhm.
Explain what that was.
Yeah, so you're out there, you're crawling under wire, obstacles and everything, and you can see the tracers going over your head, so you're gonna stay close to the ground. It's teaching you how to low crawl and all of that. You know, we had to have all that physical fitness test, you know, before you done all that, and see how you score. By the time I was done and I was talking to the general, I said, I'm at a 500 now. I come in 350 or 400, but I was being somewhat reserved because I didn't know what was expected. But I was able to do the 500, and that was perfect. So,
How many weeks into basic training did you get the general orderly?
oh, I would say I was halfway through it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm at least 4 weeks through it.
So that was a
4 or
huge
5.
thing because that kept you out of 4 weeks of KP and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I could have got all the other things you had to do.
So you were the one person from your company.
Yeah.
Did they just pick one
Yeah.
out of every company? Okay.
And it's through that 8 weeks. And I don't know what happened afterwards or before. I just know at that point I was the one.
So what did it feel like when you graduated from basic training?
Oh, hey, we was looking at AIT then. We was on probably 8 hours or so a day, you know, schooling and stuff. Basic here 24 hours a day. But something to remember, you get paid for 24 hours a day, which it wasn't much.
But did it feel like a real huge accomplishment to get through basic?
Oh, it was. And what I had accomplished was great. And I got promoted out of basic. A lot of people didn't. That was another thing, but being general order, which was just E2.
Yeah.
But normally you wouldn't get promoted until out of all of your school. Yeah.
So you were at basic training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Right.
8 weeks.
Yes.
And then how long was it between basic training and AIT?
Well, from basic training, I went straight to Fort Huachuca.
And where's that at?
That's in Arizona, way down south. They're not
Now,
too far off of Mexico. Yeah.
How long were you in Arizona for AIT?
I have to, you know, I really excelled. I was there for Morse code and some
Okay.
other things, but them barracks was built in 1800s, about 1870s or something like that.
What time of year were you in Arizona?
It was spring, more or less, yeah.
Was it still pretty hot at
Oh,
that time
yeah, I
of year?
seen 110 degrees. The worst sunburn I got in my life was right there because I'd never been west and didn't realize, you know, have that humidity, you'd get cooked quick, you know. And I spent about 3 nights in the shower. I didn't want to report anything because you get Article 15, your government property.
So
Don't
what-
destroy government property.
What all kind of training did you get at AIT? You got Morse code, but what
Yeah.
else did you get?
Yeah, I got Morse code. One thing I might share with you, I thought I was just doing great in Morse code. And one day I come in, I'm receiving all this Morse code, and I said, who in the crap sent this stuff? You know, I said, you're used to getting these experts sending Morse code. And the sergeant comes down and said, look, we recorded this from you the day before. You know, so
Oh.
I said, I got to get a little better at this, you know. But anyway, I got a several-week drop and got home for a couple weeks and went to Fort Gordon. Yeah,
Now, where's that at?
that's in Georgia. It's just before you get to Augusta, Georgia.
And why were you at that fort for?
Yeah, I was there for teletype.
Okay.
So, you know, I'd scored high, you know, in typing, which I was good at, you know. I was top of my class in high school. And so that, anyway, with all the background and everything, I was sent to teletype.
Now, what was that base like?
I remember first we stayed in tents for a good while before we got in barracks, but yeah, you know, something else on my throat. The instructors through all AIT I thought was good. You know, I mean, he was well qualified, knew how to instruct. I was able to excel in both of this AIT courses. And,
Did you have any training after that before you were deployed?
no, I didn't. I was headed home after that and waiting for orders. Yeah.
So after you were in Georgia, you went home.
Yeah.
How long were you home for?
I was supposed to be at home. I know it was at least 2 weeks. Supposed to be in there. Yeah. I'm not exactly. I'd have to go ahead and look at my discharge.
So from basic and then your 2 other bases, what was the hardest part of being in the military during that time period for you?
Well, you know, I mentioned earlier, just getting married, and I think if I'd went the first time, I think it would have been a lot easier. I wouldn't have missed home and a new wife and all this, but I had that and county leaning on me, and so I would say that was the hardest part. I was able to adapt to military life fairly easy.
So you liked kind of the structure and the discipline?
I didn't really have, once getting out of basic, getting in shape, the structure didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And
so now, your wartime service,
Yeah.
You were home for a couple of weeks. So how did you get to Vietnam? What was the process?
Yeah, the process, I had to fly to out to California, and right next to San Francisco is where I landed. Yeah.
And then from there, how did you get over?
Yeah, well, there was a couple weeks involved till my orders come down.
Okay.
And so we're pulling duties, and we have some free time. So I've seen a lot of San Francisco around, and so it was a couple weeks before I actually got called. So I had to board a plane, and first stop was Alaska. It was like we're going to Vietnam, and I think it was Juneau. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm not sure this was landing. He said, "Again, hurry up and get off the plane. There's a snowstorm coming on me. It's snowing like crazy, cold. Run in there and get back on the plane." I'm sitting there. Finally got on the plane, and I'm in there. We're going down the runway sideways. I'm looking right there, and I said, "No." I said, "We're almost the end of the runway." Finally, I said, "We ain't gonna get up." Finally, he pulled it. I don't know if he knew what he pulled it back just in time, because we had over 2 inches or 3 inches of snow on the runway by the time we could get out and get back in there. And so we're on our way. We landed, I think, in Japan first.
So California to Alaska, Japan,
Yeah.
and then from Japan, where you go right to Vietnam?
Yeah, right to Vietnam.
How long of a flight was it from California to Alaska, approximately?
Oh gosh, it wasn't all that long. 2 or 3 hours probably.
And you were on a military plane?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And then a military plane from Alaska to Japan?
yeah.
Now, how long were you in Japan? Just landing?
Just shortly. Had probably a refueling. Yeah.
And then from Japan to Vietnam?
We didn't get off. We didn't get off the plane.
Now, okay, you have talked to me before about this, but when you landed in Vietnam, first off, do you remember what day it was and what year?
Yeah, it was, trying to think. I got there in October.
68?
Yeah.
And what had just happened in Vietnam?
Yeah. Well, when I found out what my permanent duty station was, Quin Yon, that's Q-U-I-N-H-O-N, they got overrun in the Big Tet offensive in '68, which started in February of '68, and Vietnam got overrun. I mean, we lost a lot of American lives right there, and it wasn't the North Vietnamese, it was the Viet Cong, and it was a high Viet Cong area. That's what we was fighting. You had all these local nationals working for you in the daytime, but at night it was a different story, and that was your Viet Cong.
So when you first landed in Vietnam,
Yeah.
what was your experience like? What happened?
Well, I just experienced that in Alaska. We landed in Bien Hoa, Vietnam, in the southern part, and they said, "Hurry up and get off the plane. We've been threatened. We've got a threat going on." So we got off. We hurry up, got off the plane. Then we had to sleep on the ground for 3 days. We was under fire. There was a firefight going on, and I thought, "What the crap?" You couldn't get. We couldn't even get processed in. We couldn't get to a mess hall. So after 3 days, in like the dark of the night, they got us on a bus, and I'm sitting there looking at all the bars on the windows. I'm thinking, "What do you need all that for?" And they said, "Well, we got to protect you, keep them throwing grenades or anything." And I said, "Crap." So I'm thinking at this time, I said, "I don't know if I'm going to make it out here or not." This was my first impression. And so finally, I find out where I'm going. We get after 3 days, I get on the plane. It was C-130 flying up to Quin Yon.
Now, you landed in Vietnam
Yeah,
under attack,
under attack. Yeah,
and you weren't even processed in yet.
No.
So did you have a weapon?
not yet. I don't have anything. Yeah.
So you were just basically you got off the plane and you just stayed in the building for 3 days on the floor.
No, we slept on the ground.
On the ground.
Couldn't get in the building.
So you were outside, you weren't in the building.
Yeah, we couldn't even get to where we processed in.
And then you were on this bus with the guards because of like basically the guerrilla warfare type could be bombed. Now you had told me a story before about a mess hall.
Yeah, and of course the rumor, while we were waiting, the rumors, we're thinking we want to get somewhere, get something to eat or something. And the rumors going on, well, we lost a GI, I know at least one, maybe two, in the mess hall. They went to pull out a tray out of the rack, and it was booby trapped, and it blew up and killed one or two of them. So that was spreading. I said, you get to think, well, I don't know if I want to go to that mess hall. It was just, see, things like that happen over there, because, you could get hurt anywhere in Vietnam.
So when you found out where you were going, so what was your daily job, and what was it like where you were stationed?
Yeah, when we finally got out to, when I landed at the airport in Quy Nhon, you see all these Vietnamese, the words are out, you can go see all the Viet Cong laying on the square, laying out there turning green and stuff. I said, well, crap. I hadn't realized then that, that Quy Nhon had been overran, and I'm seeing all these buildings blowed up and everything. And then I get my orders, I'm going to the 86th Maintenance Battalion. I'm going to be at headquarters, and I think, well, that's not too bad, maybe. Yeah. Then as I got out to the maintenance battalion, I'm standing there and I asked them, where am I going to be at? Well, you're going to be way up on top of that mountain up there. You're going to be in a bunker. I said, well, reality kind of set in then, what I was going to be doing.
So you were basically combat support?
Yeah, and protecting we had a battalion. I mean, when you come off this mountainside, way down there, you had a whole battalion of combat support. But it was up to us to ensure that we was on top of things, and we had outposts, we had guards all around it, and we was set up too to protect the mountain. And so we had to make sure we had a command center in Quy Nhon, so we had to work with them. And one thing I wanted to point out, a few more miles inland, we was about 20 miles inland from Quy Nhon. We had the Ho Tiger Division from South Korea, which we didn't have any military around us, so it was a blessing having them. But on one hand, they could be out at night around their guard shacks, guard houses and stuff. With movement, we don't know if it's them or we don't know if it's Viet Cong, so it takes time to figure all that out, and that was our job. And
so a lot of your support was done through the South Korean military, right there.
Oh yeah.
So when you had your day, you had a 12-hour shift on, 12-hour shift off.
Correct. Yeah.
And it could be one day, 12 hours on the night side, 12 hours.
Correct. Yeah.
What was your rank at this point?
Well, when I first got there, I was spec forward.
Okay.
And I was just part of the common section. We had probably a group of 7 or 8 on each shift.
So what kind of weapons did you guys have on top of the hill?
Well, on top of we did have M14s. We was issued there. We already had those. I was trained with M16, 50 caliber machine gun, mortars, all that. We had all that on top of this mountain, and we was able to, if we had to, we could give support. A lot of flares for the guard shacks and stuff if they're seeing movement and stuff like that. So we was able to defend ourselves. Plus, we was dug in. Everything was under the mountain. We had tunnels running off it with bunkers on each end of these tunnels with 50 calibers. We had them if we needed them set up.
So when your 12-hour shift was done and you came off the mountain, what did you do for the other 12?
Yeah, as we was off duty, we was counting on our own, but being on our own, it wasn't leaving the compound. We did actually have a day room down there with the beds was all the way around. It was somewhat private, but not really, and it had the slats, the screen around it, and with the day room in the center. So we spent most of our time in that day room or something, and we did have an old pool table in there. Wasn't much, or we had an old basketball goal outside. And
now, some of the Vietnam veterans, the one thing they always talk about is the weather.
Yeah.
So what was the weather like in Southeast Asia?
The weather to me was hot, and then hot. I could monitor all that. And I seen it one week in the 120s, 126, 127, maybe one time 131.
With high humidity.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And one thing you're going to learn, you get over there, you're going to wear as loose of clothing as possible. You're going to ditch them socks and t-shirt, the underwear right off, because you don't want anything else to keep you hot. You just want them loose jungle fatigues on. So I can also say the coldest night I seen over, I was in the guard shack. We had a guard shack for headquarters too. And I think it got down to 57 degrees and I was cold. You know, I mean, you wouldn't think it, but it's not cold here now. But I mean, then it was cold in the monsoon season.
Now, explain what monsoons were.
Yeah, the monsoon season is their winter. And I was monitoring this. 4 days and 5 nights, we had over 4 feet of water, of rain. And I actually figured it at 54 inches. Think about that. Of course, that monsoon season, it was running out, and I'm looking way out through the bottoms, all the rice paddies, that's where they get it all flooded. At that time, then, you know, in the spring, they start planting. But all the water, it's all flooded. Then try getting on that mountain, it's 1,000 foot up. All the roads are washed out.
So the way you got to the top of the mountain was by vehicle.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the monsoons made all that much more difficult.
Oh, when I showed up there, I thought this is going to be my demise here, getting on top of that mountain. It took that 3/4 ton, low axle, low gear, 4-wheel drive to get up that mountain. There ain't no guardrails, not like here. And all you're looking down 1,000 feet. Then the monsoons hit and it all washes out. And you want to holler at the engineers to get them in to rebuild the roads. You know.
So when you were on top of the mountain and the monsoons came, you constantly had to bail out bunkers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did that?
We had to leave somebody in the bunker all the time. Yeah.
How did the monsoons impact your communications?
Yeah, it didn't. Well, forged the lines and everything. See, we actually even had switchboards in there, the old style. You remember seeing on some of the old flicks, you had to pull all the wires out. And see, the whole battalion was connected to us through that switchboard.
Okay.
So I remember I was coming home, I was still answering the phone, Daffy, sir. And the people, who's that? Well, I said, I can't help it, you know. And, so we had all that. Yeah, and the monsoons keeping all the lines up and all that.
Now, what about the wildlife? Did you see any interesting animals?
There was wildlife. That mountain was all grown up. You know, I can remember one morning, it was in the 120s that day, and I was sleeping on top of the bunker. And we had concertina wire all around it, you know. And I looked up and I said, what is that coming through that concertina wire? I mean, it's about the size of a tiger or something. And I said, what that crap, as it got up, I'm thinking, I'm out here with nothing, you know. And it was a mongoose. And I never seen nothing that big, you know, in a mongoose. We had some little ones we caught around here about like that. And that's what I'm thinking. And, you know, tigers was in Vietnam, gorillas in Vietnam. We had one on the mountain, you know. Everything grows big over there. It's a, you know, the hot growing climate, except deer.
Okay.
Yeah, them deer was only about that tall. I mean, it was nothing to see it, you know, what, 18 inches, not over 24 inches. Here we got the big deer, you know, and I'm thinking hunting deer. I'm thinking, man, I keep thinking, where's the big deer at? I'm seeing these little things. It didn't exist, you know. And the centipedes, so as we're doing the sandbags, having to rebuild all them and around the bunkers and stuff, they're 12, 14 inches long. I'm used to seeing them little ones, and them scorpions are everywhere, and them little 3-step snakes.
Now, were the scorpions poisonous?
Yeah.
Did anybody ever get stung by them?
Oh yeah. There was a medic office down in the main part of the battalion, and they had shots to help counter that, but they hurt like crazy.
Did you ever get stung by one?
No. Well, the guy who was sitting beside me got stung. Yeah, and I got him down to the medics. I don't know what would have happened if he hadn't got there, but and we had them little 3-step snakes. I think I shared with you when I was in the John that one 3-step snake was about 3 foot from me. Anyway, I got him out there, but yeah, all kinds of animals and wildlife. You know, you got to be careful.
Now, were you stationed anywhere else in Vietnam, or were you on that area the whole time?
Yeah, I was on top of that mountain the whole year, and I didn't take an R&R, and I felt I could make it without it, you know. And later on there, as I become commo chief, I got promoted to commo chief, Sergeant E5, where I was over the whole commo section. A lot of responsibility. But the military really teaches you how to accept the responsibility. You know, things you think you could never do, once they get on with you, you're capable. And so I took on job as commo chief, working the E6 slot. And so the last couple months over there, that's what I was doing.
Now, you were helping out other units that were under attack. Did you guys ever get attacked on the mountain?
We had lots of alerts that was
Okay.
going on. For us getting hit up there, no. We just passed the TED of 68, and again, we had the Koreans. Thank God for the Koreans. Not too far from us, and they run a lot of patrols. Yeah.
So you were always either on top of the mountain or down. You
Yeah.
weren't ever really doing patrols yourself.
No, I had done some guard duty when I first got there. Yeah, and I had been out in the pipelines and stuff. They would get I could monitor all this and see from the mountain. They got load all the time.
Oh, okay.
But one time, we did go into Quinyon a few times, very, very seldom. Of course, the road was blocked when I turned around and go through another village. All the things were under a daggone rooster, You don't kill their animals just so lightly.
Yeah.
You don't kill the water buffalo. That's the worst thing you can do. Anyway, got out there and that road was blown. So I wasn't trying to come back. I had to figure out how to negotiate. These families are tight-knit over there. Around the cities, you wouldn't notice. You get out in the countryside, very tight-knit, close families. They're out there with machetes. They're going to cut us up, I hope I don't have to shoot these kids. I just hope it don't. Finally, we was able to negotiate our way through there. And there's some other situations like that.
Yeah.
But that was one of them.
So you were married. How did you write letters all the time and get letters from your wife and people from here?
Yeah. It was good to get letters. Coming out of the Quinyon, we had mail carriers. Yeah. And of course, one time mail carrier got killed coming out. But so we did communicate with letters. Only one time I got to go to Phu Cat Air Base. We used to have this at work too, where you could talk over the radio to a telephone. And I was able to call home and talk to my wife. I was so impressed with that Air Force. I said I should have joined the Air Force. I mean, that was nice. There was a lot of compounds in and out around Quinyon. Like I don't know if I mentioned to you, there was like 50,000 GIs around Quinyon, and I was wondering how could you get overrun? But they was good at it.
So you're writing letters
Yeah.
home. You got letters from home. Did anybody from Monrovia ever send you anything like food or anything like that?
I don't think so. No. And I don't know if it's time now to kind of talk about the perception of the Vietnam War to people out there in the community. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
Going and coming, I didn't mention it really. People were so against it, and I was waiting there in San Francisco as I was doing that. There were so many demonstrations going on and stuff against Vietnam and the war. It wasn't good. But I'd just like to say now I can so appreciate the people now as I talk to them and ask if he was a veteran. Welcome for your service. It's such a change, and I'm glad to see that. And that means so much to the veterans.
How did that impact the morale of the troops? Do you think it impacted the soldiers you were around?
I'm sure it did out when they was home on leave and stuff. While you're in the military, different world. It's just like the outside world don't exist. And that's how I feel. I mean, you're right here. I know I got family at home, but you're not really connected with the outside. And it seems strange, but that's just the way it is. You're in there, you got a job to do. And
Especially probably after Tet, the perception of the war really changed.
Yeah.
So you were over there during that time period as well.
Yeah. And, but there's still a lot of fighting going on. I mean, it was just right there with the help of the South Koreans and able to clean that up and take no casualties. That was how they thought. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you. There was about they considered a 1-to-7 ratio. One of them got killed. Look how Vietcong. I mean, they was deadly. And they cleaned out. Even though we had all the military buildup, the South Koreans really cleaned it up.
So you were there for 12 months?
Yes.
So what was it like when you were getting close to coming home? I mean, what did that feel like, knowing that you had 2 weeks to go? Or
the days stretched out, and we had up on the board inside our bunker there, we had, all of us had our names on there, and we all had our deer roast date, and we were counting down. You might see it 20 days, 15 days, 5 days. Everybody's writing this on the board, so all of us know when we're going to leave. And everybody's got different deer roast dates. When you're going to ship out.
So your last day, what happens?
Long story, but last day we got in. We had to go ahead and get into Quignon, and the night before, 2 nights before, and wait to get on the plane to get out of there. And for some reason, we missed the time. Some of us then, when we were supposed to report and go out, so we're all sweating. I mean, we're sweating big time. If we miss this plane, we might have to go back to our duty station. And so we're begging. We're up there talking to the commanding officers and stuff. Finally, they let us catch up and make the flight out of there.
So where'd you fly out from?
Long Bend. That's
Okay.
the south. Yeah.
So you fly out of Vietnam.
Well, at first I had to fly from Quignon down to Long Bend.
So then, from where did you go?
Yeah, from Long Bend, we flew nonstop. Fort Lewis, Washington.
So you're on a military plane?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's straight through, 300 guys on it. Another thing, I've told you some of the problems I have when I get on these planes, that things happen. So we get ready to land at Fort Lewis, and the pilot comes on. He announced on the intercom, he says, it's too foggy to land. We're going to fly across the state of Washington to another airport. We'll be able to land over there. So after a few minutes, he comes back. We done flew from Vietnam. He says, if we got enough fuel, we got to fly back to Fort Lewis, Washington. And they've got radar there. And quiet. I could hear the guys watch on next door. I'm dead silent. I mean, there was no, you know what they're thinking. Here we survived this. And now we're going to see if we got enough fuel to land, And so we get over, and we did land by radar, and that was in 69, November 69. And I couldn't see the ground. I was halfway down the steps where I could ever start to see the ground,
Now, how long were you at Fort Lewis, Washington?
I was there a few days, not very long. And, the military had said they'd come out. They didn't feel it was worth their while if you was under 5 months to assign you a permanent duty station. Mine would have been in Missouri, but they just give us a drop. I wasn't 5. I think it was between 4 and 3 months. I got dropped. I didn't have, so I was released. Deer roast November the 8th, 69.
So where'd you go after Fort Lewis, Washington?
Yeah, I went to Indianapolis.
So you're done?
I'm done. I got picked up in Indianapolis. Of course, you're still on. You got 6 years obligation, and if they needed to, they could call you back. But after 6 years, you was released.
So what was it like landing in Indianapolis?
Indianapolis was, I hate to say this, was probably the worst place I ever landed for. Is short runways then. It's a lot better now, and we've done a lot of work out there.
So out of all of the places you landed, Alaska, the Fog Bank, and Fort Lewis, Washington, Indianapolis was the worst place.
I mean, if you hadn't had that seatbelt on, you'd been up there with the pilot, because I'm sitting by the window, the tires are burning, you're stretched out like this, and they're trying to shut that thing down, so.
But when you got home, that just had to be,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you explain that?
Yeah, once I got home though, it was life back. I had a job, go back, and I was working in electronic troubleshooting, and but I didn't tell anybody I was in Vietnam. My parents, everybody knew. I got a welcoming reception from my parents. My wife was there, and my dad, and so that felt good. But for sharing it out there with the community and the rest of the world, it was just, everybody was so against it.
So how long from when you got home till you started work?
Oh, I only took off just a few weeks, yeah. See, I took a leave from where I worked, and so as a military leave, so they was obligated to put me back to work when I got back. And I did get some back, I forget what kind of pay. I did get some pay when I come back, So, but within a year, working that day, just to say this, in '70, that company, factory, that building went to Mexico.
Oh,
It's
really?
been going on a long time. Yeah. So I went into development work, and so on and so forth.
So, if you could have any last comments for family or friends or
Mhm.
alumni,
Mhm.
what would you like to leave them with?
Well, I was really proud to serve my country, and by all means, I did the best I could for my country. When you're in a third world country and looking what they don't have and the things we do have and how we live, I mean, when I landed in Vietnam and seen it, I could not believe it. I mean, how do these people live in these huts and stuff? What keeps them even standing up? And as I go through these little villages, all got a little fire out front. None of them don't think about stoves or anything like. They're cooking in front of their little hut every night, or shaking the rice out, or something like that. The only thing, something I might share, is I was touring one of these little villages. Of course, we probably had a few beers, we're off duty, and they're cooking out there, and these guys, I eat some of this water buffalo, and every time I thought about it after I got sick, I knew them would kill water buffalo if it died of old age or died of an illness. I said, well, I was pissed. I said, you guys let me eat this stuff? What's the matter with you? So anyway, that stayed with me the rest of my tours. I thought, because I really watched what I did over there, trying to stay safe, be aware of your surroundings, know what's going on. I didn't carry the rabbit feet or all that stuff, but I did. I was very careful, and I kind of relied on prayer, and to get me through it. As I was typing out a lot of this. I'm not going on it now, but I'm telling you, it was all coming back, and I'm thinking. One time, one of my NCOs had told me, he said, "You might not believe this," but he said, "One day you're going to think about this, and this is going to be some of the best times of your life." And as I was sitting there typing that, I got to think about that. It was all coming back. The good times that we did have, all the camaraderie, the brotherhood that we had in the military. It was all coming back to me. I kind of whelped up, and I said, man, I think I'd ever do that. I've sat down the typewriter, and I said, golly, I think he was right. It was, some of it was good time with the bad times and surviving. And I seen all the bad stuff, too. I was at a headquarters. I was attached to headquarters. I watched these to support the people coming in from Big Red One and Play Cool, all the fighting that's going on. I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm seeing the uniforms, the threads are gone, the sleeves are falling off, the heat and the sweat, the salt just eats them up. And something else I share with you is I really knew all the statistics and everything where I was at. And when you're talking about out there in the rice valleys and the infantry out there, it was about 6%. You got to think the support there was huge. I'm say a 94% support. We built the railroads. We done all this. We had all the support. Just think what it takes to support a war going on that many years.
Yeah.
Something else I might share. My uncle was there in 1954. People don't know that. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. But it's on video now. I said I'd be careful about what I said. We was helping the French in 1954. So, we was there a long time. The war, I guess they probably acknowledged from about 65 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, the support and what was built in Vietnam, what we did there to build that country was unbelievable. What I see, so I want to say that, what it takes to fight a war and for that war to carry on that long. The support was tremendous.